Okay, ceramic coated pistons. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Okay, I think it's pretty cool. So we're gonna try to work through that right now. Okay, first off, I'd like to shout out to the owner operator. Props to you guys. That can be a thankless job. I know I've done it for over 25 years myself. You're fighting an uphill battle. You got freight rates the way they are, parts, supplies, labor, repair costs. Everything's going against you guys, but yet you keep doing it. I just want to know. I just want you to know that we thank you for doing that. So we're going to talk about ceramic coated pistons. So let's talk about how this works a little bit. In the combustion process, there's 4 different stages. Okay, the one that we're really interested in today is going to be rate of heat release. Okay, so our target. Well, first let me explain. That rate of heat release, that's critical in reaching maximum torque. I mean, that's how our engine performs, right? So we want to burn or rate of heat release of 50%. That's our target, just after top dead center. Okay, that's our energy. That's our driving force. That's what's going to push that piston down. Okay, and if we can achieve that, then we can achieve maximum torque at the crank. Okay, so that's the idea. That's the combustion process. Okay, real quick. And then so we got the OEM pistons. And the problem with the OEM pistons is they're going to absorb some of that heat during the combustion process. So we're going to lose some of that energy, because it's being absorbed by the piston. Okay. So now we're going to put ceramic coated pistons. Now the ceramic coating, in theory, is what's supposed to do is going to reflect that heat, right? So it's not going to be absorbed by the piston. So we get to use a little bit more of that energy, that heat release. And in theory, well, then we're going to have a little bit more torque, a little bit more horsepower, and a little bit maybe better fuel mileage. Okay, but we still have to we still have to achieve that 50% burn. This is where it starts to fall apart. You see, the OEM calibration is accounting for that piston absorbing that heat through injection timing, pulse width, whatever. But when we put those pistons in there with a ceramic coating on it, we need to calibrate it or tune the engine to be able to take advantage of those pistons. You see, because that rate of heat release, that 50% burn that I'm talking about, is now going to happen sooner, right? Because the piston is not absorbing some of that heat. So we may not be reaching that 50% burn, and that 50% burn is our maximum, is our peak, it's our maximum to reach maximum torque, right? That's the goal, that's the target. So maybe it's happening sooner. So we no longer have 50% burn after top dead center, just a little after top dead center. We might be closer to top dead center, with that 50%, which means after top dead center, it might be 40, 35, 30%, right? So in some ways you derated yourself. If you didn't tune the truck to match that piston, then you really didn't accomplish anything. You actually hurt yourself, okay? And you could cause some damages, to the rod and main bearings. It could start a hammering effect. It just depends, right? I mean, so anyway, that's what we would have to do, is to calibrate it to make it work, okay? And then the other problem that I have with that, it takes a little bit more than just a piston, the ceramic coated piston, to achieve anything, right? What you guys need to understand is that piston was really designed for racing, okay? And in racing, it's meant to get down the track. That's it. That's his job. And it's going to be wide open throttle, and it's under a load the whole time, right? Unfortunately, your truck is not, okay? Yours travels the country. Yours travels, up and down the highways, hills, no hills, loads, no loads, whatever. It's always changing. The environment's different. The barometric pressures, the altitudes are different. Humidity is different. Everything changes. So I like to say that the racing is more of a controlled environment. All right, they're going to take into account humidity, barometric pressures, and temperatures, ambient air temperatures, and things like that. They're going to tune this truck to match that truck, because the idea is to get down there faster than the next guy. But this truck is under a load the whole time, and then when they get done, well, we're going to tear this thing down and do it again. That's not what's happening in your truck. It wasn't designed for you. So the short of it is, no, they don't benefit you. It's not good for you. It's not meant for your truck, okay? So I'm going to show you this picture right here, a screenshot of ceramic coated pistons, and we'll come back to that. Okay, so that was the, that's the picture anyway. So that's one problem we have. It has to do with rate of heat release and tuning, right? The calibration. And to take advantage of that piston, we're going to have to calibrate it. We're going to have to tune it. And it needs to be done by somebody that actually knows what they're doing. It can't be just average Joe Blow down the street, right? He's going to have to put it on a dyno, and he's going to have to go through it and whatever. So it has to be somebody who truly knows what they're doing. The other problem that I have, and if you go back to the picture, is the piston itself, the way it's being done. In this particular picture, it's all wrong. Now, in the actual video, he talks about reaching 5,000ths, I believe, on the coating. Okay, most everyone most everyone that I've ever dealt with, the target is or their parameters for that, it's 5/10 of a thousandths to 3,000ths. 5,000ths is too much. It's too thick. All right. So that stands a chance on breaking, right? Cracking, peeling, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So that's one problem. It's getting too thick now. Okay. Now, if you look down the side of that piston, he's going down to the first groove. Well, that's another problem. You see, the problem with that is that piston's going to expand sideways, right? Around the outer edges of it, right? It's going to expand. The problem with that is ceramic doesn't. It's not steel. It doesn't expand. Not like that. So when that piston expands, what do you think is going to happen to that ceramic coating? It's going to crack, chip, peel, flake, whatever you want to call it. It's going to happen, right? Then the other problem that I have with that is that he's going down to the first ring groove. Okay, and the problem with that first ring groove right there, that's going to be a sharp edge. So take your knife and go heat it up and tell me what part of the knife is going to get hot first. It's going to be the sharp edge, right? Well, that's the same thing that's going to happen at that ceramic coating on that first ring groove right there at that edge. It's going to get hot right there because it's a sharp edge. So he's going to have to figure out a way to get it machined, grind it, something to make it a soft edge. And then he needs to not come down the side because the piston itself is going to expand, right? And ceramic is not. So it should only be the crown, okay? And then he's talking about 5,000ths. We'll go back to the 5,000ths. Well, how do you measure the 5,000ths on the crown? You might can measure the lip of it, maybe, but how do you measure the bowl? That's some pretty sophisticated tooling that you would have to do, I'm sure, to achieve that. And then in his picture, in his video, he's using an HLVP gun and a respirator. Maybe that's just props. I hope it is, because with that, how do you control the spray? How do you know that you're putting 5,000ths on it? So that is all wrong, people. So if you come across something like that, think twice about it. Do a little bit of research and look it up, so you know that you're not getting something that you can't use, that it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to work the way it should, right? In his video, he also says that he has no idea how long it's going to last. I appreciate him saying that. You know why? Because nobody does. Nobody will know. Nobody can know. There's too many variables in an over-the-road truck. So nobody, is it 100,000 miles? Is it 200,000? Is it 300,000? At what point does it quit, right? So let's say that you did everything you were supposed to from the very beginning. You got the calibration, you got the tune, you did everything you were supposed to do. And then that ceramic goes away somewhere. Only problem is you'll never know where, right? So now the calibration, the tune that you got is no longer any good, right? Because you no longer have the ceramic coating that you originally started out with, and now you're 50% burned, to what I was talking about earlier. Now that's going to change again, and now you're not going to have it when you're supposed to. Now it's happening too soon, right? So we adjusted it because it was happening too soon, because you did install in ceramic coated pistons, and now the ceramic coating is gone, and now we're back to doing it again. So you're derating yourself again. So would I do it? No, I wouldn't do it, because at some point it's going to come apart, okay? At some point it's going to happen, right? I wouldn't do it because unless you have the absolute, best tuner to get it done, it's not going to benefit you. And then, like I said, when it does disappear, that tune is no longer going to be any good, right? And then where's all those flakes of ceramic going to go? That's harder than steel, All right, so it's going to eat up the engine. You know, of course they're microscopic. I got you. It's little bitty pieces, but it's enough to screw it up. It's eat up the crankshaft, eat up the bearings, the camshafts, you know, any of your rotating assemblies, right? So do I think it's worth it? No. It's a cool idea for racing, but not for over the road trucks. Now, if this is your thing, have at it. That's your business. Because at the end of the day, you know what? To be honest with you, it's not my truck, it's not my money, and I don't have to deal with the consequences. It's yours. So with that in mind, I'm just trying to put some information out there to help you make a better informed decision, you know, to help you decide whether you really want to go that route or not. But it's a lot more complicated than that. I don't have hours to talk about it. You know, we only got a few minutes, so I hope that helps you out a little bit. Appreciate you watching.